लॉकडाउन में कोरोना है सबका रोना, डरने वाली बात नहीं है, सावधानी हमको रखनी है, 1 मीटर की दूरी से ही बात है हम सबको करनी है। बच्चों आओ पढ़ो सभी, कोरोना से डरो नहीं, बच्चों आओ पढ़ो सभी, कोरोना से डरो नहीं, पढ़ना लिखना है सबको, आगे बढ़ना है सबको।
Hello everyone, I am Sonal Asthana, an English teacher of GHS Ametia, Salempur Kakori, Lucknow. Children, I will teach you the first chapter of class 9th, The Fun They Had. I will teach you this chapter in 2 parts, but today we will study the first part of the chapter, The Fun They Had, written by Isaac Asimov. Now children, let's begin with the introductory questions. Question number 1. Where do you go for studies? I go to school for studies. Next question is, name the things that you see in the classroom. The things that I see in the classroom are blackboard, tables, chairs, books, copies, etc. Third question is, who teaches you in the class? The teacher teaches me in the class. And the last question is, how will children study when books and schools will perhaps not exist? When books and schools will not exist, then children will learn through computers or virtual classroom. Virtual classroom is not a real classroom, but one where learning is done through computer software on the internet or through robotic teacher or the mechanical teacher. And the last is e-text or online study material. Today in this class, we will study the schools of the future where computers play a major role. Famous American author Isaac Asimov has described one such school in his story, The Fun They Had. Plot of this story is set in the year 2157 AD. In this class, we will study the paragraph from Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary to why would anyone write about school? Now, about the author, Isaac Asimov, born on 2nd January 1920. He was an American writer and he wrote more than 500 books, which were mostly the work of science fiction and popular science. He taught biochemistry at Boston University School of Medicine. The most enduring contribution of Asimov are 3 Laws of Robotics and the Foundation series. Asimov coined the word robotics in his fictions. In 1984, he was named as Humanist of the Year by American Humanist Association. He died on 6th April 1992. Now about the lesson. This story takes us to the world of the future where computers will play a major role. This story suggests that there is a possibility that in future learning will be customized for children and taught by robots through computers. This story is a science fiction written in the year 1954. At that time, computers and robots were not invented. So, the author coined various new terms like telebooks, mechanical teachers, television screen. Plot of this story is set in the year 2157 AD. Schools of future will be set up in the homes and students will not be required to visit the common school for study. In the story, the school of Margie is a virtual classroom. That is not a real classroom but one where learning is through computer software on the internet. In the year 2157 AD, a little girl named Margie and her friend Tommy find a printed book through which these kids come to know about the schools of today where all children visit and taught together by a human teacher. Considering their isolated study time in customized schools, Margie thinks about the students who studied in past schools. She was thinking that it must be a real fun where many students would study together as they have common study material. They could also help each other in studies. Now let's begin the chapter, the fun they had. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed 17 May 2157, she wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book." It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. They turned the pages which were yellow and crinkly. Crinkly means with many folds or lines. And it was awfully funny. Awfully funny means very comic. To read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen, you know. And then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. Now, let's revise the meaning of the difficult words. First one is crinkly, with many folds or lines. Second word is awfully funny. It means very comic. Now, usage: crinkly. An old diary of my grandfather has crinkly pages. Now, next word is awfully funny. Now, the sentence is: it is awfully funny to see a cat dancing round and round. On 17 May 2157, Margie wrote in her diary that Tommy found a book printed on paper. This is a very old book, that its pages are yellow and crinkly. Now, let's answer the questions based on this paragraph. Question number 1. What did Margie write in her diary? Now, the answer is: Margie wrote in her diary about a very old book printed on the paper found by his friend Tommy. Next question is: what type of book is mentioned in the stanza? The answer is: there is a description of a very old book printed on the paper having yellow and crinkly pages. Now, the next paragraph. "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste. When you're through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess. Our television screen must have had a million books on it, and it's good for plenty more." So, plenty means sufficient. "I wouldn't throw it away." "Same with mine," said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. She said, "Where did you find it?" "In the house." He pointed without looking because he was busy reading. "In the attic." Attic, a space just below the roof used as a storeroom. "What's it about?" "School." Now, let's revise the meaning of the difficult words. First word is plenty. Plenty means sufficient. Next word is attic. Attic means a space just below the roof used as a storeroom. Now, usage: plenty. Donna has plenty of toys in her backpack. Next word is attic. Now, its sentence is: my mother stores all rarely used things in attic. Tommy is surprised to know that in earlier days books were printed on paper, and it always remained that way and were useless once read. Now, let's answer the question based on this paragraph. Question number 1. Had Margie ever seen a book before? Now, the answer is: Margie had never seen a book before. Next question is: what do you think a telebook is? A telebook is an e-book saved in a computer. And the third question is: what kind of teachers did Margie and Tommy have? Margie and Tommy had teachers in the form of television screen having a million of telebooks on it. Now the next paragraph. Margie was scornful. Scornful means showing you think something is worthless. School. What's there to write about school? I hate school. Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right. And after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot. Slot means a given space, time or position, where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted Margie's head. He said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick." Geared means adjusted to a particular level or standard. Those things happen sometimes. I've slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory. And he patted Margie's head again. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. So she said to Tommy, "Why would anyone write about school?" Now children, let's revise the meaning of the difficult word of these paragraphs. The first word is scornful. Scornful means showing you think something is worthless. Now the second word is slot. Slot means a given space, time or position. Third word is geared. Geared means adjusted to a particular standard or level. Now usage. First word, scornful. Now its sentence. The students were scornful of the class monitor's proposal of fancy dress competition. Next word is slot. John inserted the disk into the drive slot. Third word is geared. Now its sentence is, the mechanical engineer has geared the speed of my car which was not running properly. So children, this story is set up in the future where teacher is a mechanical teacher working on pre-programmed instructions. In the paragraph, we found that there was some problem with the programming in the geography section of the mechanical teacher of Margie, due to which her performance was worse than expected. Therefore, Margie's mother sent the mechanical teacher to the county inspector. He found some issues with the programming in the geography section of the mechanical teacher of Margie. Its speed was disturbed and became fast. So, he corrected the speed of the mechanical teacher and explained Margie's mother that her performance was satisfactory. Now children, let's answer the question based on these three paragraphs. Question number 1. What things about the book did Margie find strange? The answer is, Margie found it strange that the book was written on school, as she thought schools are too boring to be written. Now the next question is, why did Margie's mother send the mechanical teacher to the county inspector? Margie's mother sent the mechanical teacher to the county inspector because Margie's performance was declining in the geography section. Now the third question, why was Margie doing badly in geography? Margie was doing badly in geography because she was getting the geography tests very quickly by the mechanical teacher, due to which her performance was declining. And the last question is, what did the county inspector do to help her? Now the answer is, the county inspector had slowed down the speed of programming in the geography section of the mechanical teacher that was disturbed and became fast. Now children, let's revise what we have studied till now through a practice exercise. Fill in the blanks. First, Margie was dash years old and Tommy was dash years old. Now the answer is, Margie was 11 years old and Tommy was 13. Years old. Now next sentence is Margie's dash have had million books on it. Good. Now the answer is Margie's television screen have had million books on it. Now the third sentence, the mechanical teacher had been giving Margie's test after test in dash section. Now the answer is geography section. Now fourth sentence, Margie's always hated dash. Margie always hated school. And the last one, once history sector of Tommy's teacher had dash out completely. Once history sector of Tommy's teacher had blanked out completely. Now, this is your homework. Practice it afterward. Answer each of the following questions in 2 or 3 paragraphs or in 100 to 150 words. Now the first question, what are the main features of the mechanical teacher that Margie and Tommy have in the story? And the second question is, why did Margie hate the school? So children, I hope you all have understood and enjoyed the first part of the chapter, the fun they had. So stay home, stay safe and happy learning. Goodbye. Now, you can refer to Diksha Digital Infrastructure for knowledge sharing, mobile app from your mobile. Diksha mobile application can be downloaded through Play Store or iOS. You can also subscribe the YouTube channel of Uttar Pradesh Madhyamik Shiksha Vibhag. You can directly solve your queries from your teachers through e-learning or virtual classes. Thank you very much.